I never knew that my timid mother when she was young was actually a bandit chief, galloping with a sword. In my past life, when people called me a bastard, I would always cry and bury myself in Mom's arms, asking why I didn't have a father. Mom would always stay silent with tears in her eyes. She was just a tofu-selling woman, clumsy, not even daring to kill a chicken. But having lived again, I know that Mom retired from the gang for that scholar, only to be discarded like a worn-out shoe after he passed the imperial exams. In this life, I must stop Mom from reforming. We won't marry a scholar! Won't become a tofu lady. When I woke up, the mountain path beneath my feet was bumpy, hurting my little feet. A black horse came clip-clopping up to me. The woman in red on the horse looked so impressive. She held a shiny long blade in her hand, her eyebrows raised high. What little girl dares to block my way? I looked at this bright and confident girl before me, and my eyes immediately reddened. So this is how beautiful Mom was when she was young. Compared to later, at the tofu stall, with her head down, completely different. I thumped down on my knees. My short legs were so weak. Please take me in, Chief. Mom was stunned for a moment. She blinked. It was like she wanted to laugh, but held it back. She dismounted the horse. She crouched down and pinched my chin with her fingertips. I smelled the familiar scent on her. My nose couldn't help but sting. Mom squinted and sized me up. The little girl is quite pretty. Why would such a young girl want to become a bandit in the mountains? I looked at her face and tears fell like beads from a broken string, drip-dropping onto the back of her hand. Mom was clearly flustered. Her tone turned a bit fierce instantly. What are you crying for? I didn't hit you. I hate whining the most. I quickly wiped my face with my sleeve. Remembering the pitiful story I had made up, I mumbled softly, I have nowhere to go. Both my parents are dead. My uncles are going to sell me to a brothel. I escaped with all my strength. Mom was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly let out a scoff. She waved her hand. Fine, then stay. Green Dragon Fort isn't short of a meal for you. She took 2 steps, then turned back and glared at me, and said fiercely, but don't expect me to coddle you. Here, either you become tough yourself, or let me gnaw you until there's nothing left but bones. Got it? I nodded vigorously, like a chick pecking at rice. From today on, I am Mom's little shadow. Back at Green Dragon Fort, Mom plopped down onto that big tiger skin chair and even swung her crossed legs back and forth. She picked up a wine jar and glugged it down her throat. The liquor ran down her chin and into her collar. Mom wiped her mouth and smashed the empty jar onto the ground with a clang. Awesome! I shrank behind the pillar in the corner, staring at her without blinking. Mom looks so cool when she drinks. She exudes an air of confidence. I recall in my past life at the tofu stall when a drunkard took advantage of her. She only dared to lower her head, not daring to breathe loudly. And it makes me feel suffocated. But now, Mom is so great, so imposing. No one dares to bully her. Hey, you! I didn't know when Mom had walked up to me, bent down close to my face. The smell of alcohol on her mixed with fragrance hit me. My dizzy face turned bright red. What's your name? How old are you, Su Xiaotong? 6 years old. Mom raised an eyebrow, as if surprised. Same surname as me. Good. From now on, you'll stay by my side. She reached out and ruffled my hair. A bit heavy-handed, but it made me feel so happy. I looked up at Mom and thought to myself, Mom, in this life, I'll make sure you're always this happy. Forever. Not be that pushover who gets bullied. A few days later, Mom tossed me a small short knife. The blade was ice cold. I could barely hold it with both hands. Mom vaulted onto the horse, reached down and lifted me in front of her. I was riding a horse for the first time. So high. The wind whipped against my hair. I held tight to Mom's clothes. My heart was racing. The horse galloped along the cliffside path. Below was a pitch-black 1,000-foot abyss. I was scared out of my wits. I held onto Mom's waist for dear life. My voice was trembling uncontrollably. Mom turned back and smiled. Her hair was blown across my face. Scared? I gritted my teeth and shook my head. My little face was pale white, voice a bit shaky. Scared? Mom laughed even harder. Stubborn. Don't wet your pants later. I puffed out my cheeks. I was unconvinced inside, but I had to admit it really was high. So scary. Our target was a merchant caravan down the mountain. Uncle Tianyu had already set up an ambush with his men. He reported in a low voice, Chief, it's the county magistrate's brother-in-law's goods. Plenty of loot. That was the first time I saw Mom in action. Her red dress fluttered among the crowd. A flash of blade, and someone fell to the ground with an ouch. Swift and clean. Without even blinking, I was stunned. I almost dropped my little knife. When the last man fell, Mom shook the blood off her blade, turned and looked at me. Got it? My face was pale. My hands and feet were trembling. I couldn't even speak. Mom walked over and gently tapped the back of my head. Scared that easily? It's okay. These are corrupt officials who suck the people's blood. Not worth pity. I wanted to defend myself. But when I opened my mouth, I realized my hands were shaking like a sieve. Mom reached out and grabbed my hand. Her warm palm steadied me a bit. Uncle Tianyu suddenly found an account book. Mom flipped through it, smiled. 3,000 taels of silver, 50 bolts of silk. The county magistrate sure can embezzle. She turned to Uncle Tianyu and said, same rules, 30% to the treasury. 70% distributed to the villages down the mountain tomorrow. Especially Liu family village. Give them more, they suffered a drought this year. I looked into Mom's eyes and thought, Mom, you're still so kind. In this life, I won't let you make the same mistakes. Days went by. At Green Dragon Fort, I ate well and slept soundly. My little face even got a bit rounder. But the good times didn't last. That annoying Gu Hanjo finally showed up. That day, Mom came back from running errands down the mountain and said she met a scholar in town. She gave him a copy of Chutzi. That scholar was gentle and refined, spoke in a soft and proper manner, and had a pleasant voice. The moment I heard it, I was on alert. I knew the name Gu Hanjo all too well. In my past life, he was the one who caused Mom to die horribly on the street. I tugged at Mom's clothes, looked up with my little face, eyes wide open, and asked what that scholar looked like. Mom thought for a bit. Quite handsome. Speaks slowly. And a bit shy. I curled my lip. In my head I sneered, handsome? Shy? Liars all put on an act. I never expected that 3 days later, that Gu Hanjo actually came to our door. He stood at the entrance of the fort wearing that awful blue robe, a cloth bag in his hand. He said he came to the mountains to find a quiet place to study. And Mom actually went down the mountain to welcome him. My cheeks puffed up in anger. I hid behind the crowd, my little fists clenched tight. Chief! She's really fallen for that pretty boy, hasn't she? No way. That scholar's as skinny as a stick. I could take down 3 of him with one punch. How's he worthy of our chief? But didn't you see just now? The chief smiled at him. Our chief. When has she ever smiled at any man? The uncles nearby whispered among themselves. Every word felt like a heavy rock hitting my heart. I bit my lower lip hard. Stared at Gu Hanjo as he bowed to Mom with a fake polite air. His voice was so sweet it could drip honey. Hongying, miss, I'm sorry to intrude. No intrusion at all. Mom's tone was softer than usual. She turned sideways to lead him up the mountain. The conditions up here are rough. Mr. Gu, please don't mind. Gu Hanjo smiled and nodded, his gaze slowly sweeping over the fort, a barely noticeable calculation hidden in his eyes. I saw it. He wasn't here to study. He was here to spy. In my past life, that's how he did it. Bit by bit, won Mom's trust, and eventually got the fort destroyed. Mom died horribly. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran out from behind the crowd, blocking Mom with all my might. I looked up and glared at Gu Hanjo, my voice crisp, but full of hostility. Mr. Gu, the wind is strong in the mountains. Be careful. You might catch a cold. Better head back down early. The smile on Gu Hanjo's face froze for a moment, and a flicker of displeasure passed through his eyes. Xiaotong, don't be rude! I refused to move. I stared hard at Gu Hanjo, bluntly voicing all my concerns, not caring if it sounded harsh. I'm just stating the facts. Mr. Gu is preparing for the imperial exams in the capital. A scholar always hanging around our bandit den. Will ruin your reputation if word gets out. If it affects your exams, we, the Green Dragon Fort, can't bear that responsibility. Gu Hanjo's face changed color several times. His fingers tightened around the cloth bundle. After a moment, he returned to his gentle demeanor. He cupped his hands to Mother. Little sister is right. I was too rash. I shouldn't have come up the mountain to disturb him. Then he looked at me. His eyes carried a faint chill. Miss Hongying. I'll take my leave then. I saw Mother open her mouth. There was hesitation in her eyes, like she wanted to keep him. But in the end, she only said, I'll see you out. I stood there, watching them, their backs as they went down the mountain, one after the other. Mother's red dress and Gu Hanjo's green robe, together. It was blinding. Gu Hanjo came more and more often. Like a fly you can't shake off. Every time he came up the mountain, he'd bring some little trinkets. A packet of sweet osmanthus candy, 2 writing brushes with smooth handles, or a few pieces of soft cake from the town's pastry shop. These things weren't worth much, but in Mother's eyes, they seemed to hold all his sincerity. She would always accept them with a smile. Sometimes she'd even open the osmanthus candy and give me one. Ruffling my hair, she'd say, Be good, little Tang. Have some candy. I held the candy in my mouth. But my heart was bitter. Mother, oh mother, in your past life, it was these little favors. That fooled you. How come you never learn? They always liked to talk by the cliff. The wind carried their voices, soft and gentle. They'd chat for half a day. I'd lie behind a rock not far away, watching Mother. The warmth and smile growing on her face. My heart hurt like it was being twisted. Sister Hongying, the second chief needs you urgently. Says there's news about the soldiers. Sister Hongying, something terrible. The storehouse seems to be on fire. The brothers are all busy. Sister Hongying, hurry back. The soldiers are surrounding the mountain. My lies got more and more clumsy. Even I found them flimsy. At first, Mother went along with me. But the more I called her back, the more impatience showed in her eyes. Finally, when I lied again saying Uncle Tianyu was injured, Mother completely exploded. That day, Mother came back from the cliff. Her face was scary dark. She grabbed my wrist and dragged me into her room, slamming the door shut. She called me by my full name for the first time, her voice filled with suppressed anger. Su Xiaotong, what the hell are you trying to do? My wrist hurt from her grip, but I was ready to go all out. I looked up, meeting her eyes. My voice choked with tears, but incredibly firm. I want you to wake up. Gu Hanjo is not a good man. He's just fooling you. Mother let out a sneer, her eyes full of disbelief. A promising scholar like him? He gives up a bright future in the Imperial exams. Just to fool me, a woman bandit? You tell me. What's in it for him? I was completely stuck. Yeah, what was in it for him? In my past life, I only knew he was unfaithful. But I never delved into the reasons. I opened my mouth, but not a word came out. I could only stare at her, dumbfounded, that night. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep, my mind full of Mother's question. What exactly was Gu Hanzhou after? For money. Although the silver in Qinglong stronghold was plenty, compared to the fame and rank from Imperial exams, it was utterly insignificant. I thought about it all night, and the more I thought, the more confused I became. Early the next morning, just as the sky was barely light, I secretly sneaked down the mountain. I remembered Gu Hanzhou had said he lived in Lijiazhuang at the foot of the mountain, renting a simple thatched cottage. I followed the path and felt my way into the village. Tiptoeing around to the back of the cottage, I peeked inside through a hole in the corner of the wall. Gu Hanzhou had his back to me, bending down to pull out a locked wooden chest from under the bed. He opened the lock. Inside was a chest full of letters. He picked up the top one, carefully opened it, held it up close, and read it over and over, a smug smile on his face. I held my breath, squinting hard to see inside. I could barely make out the beginning of the letter. Hanzhou, my son, you must gain the bandit leader's trust and take control of the Qinglong stronghold's finances. The Imperial Court has sent troops to suppress the bandits. If you can collaborate from within, it will be a great achievement. Your father will guarantee your future. The rest of the words were blocked by his hand, and I couldn't see them anymore. But those few sentences were like thunder exploding in my mind. Gu Hanzhou, he was no poor scholar heading for the exams. He was a spy sent by the Imperial Court. My mind felt like thunder had struck. I was completely stunned. So in the previous life, his betrayal wasn't a momentary change of heart. It was all a lie from the very beginning. When he came third in the Imperial exam and married the Chancellor's daughter, it was no accident. Those were all rewards for his merits in suppressing the bandits. My mother, that formidable Su Hongying, was nothing but a stepping stone for his advancement, a tool for his achievements. Once used up, she was mercilessly discarded. Before discarding her, he even broke 3 of her ribs. All to sever ties with the bandits, to pave his way to success. Su Xiaotang, what's wrong? Why are you running so fast? You look terrible. Mother walked toward me, saw me drenched in sweat with a pale face. She immediately frowned, reached out to touch my face. I grabbed her sleeve, my voice trembling uncontrollably, but I quickly blurted out everything. Hongying, Gu Hanzhou is a spy sent by the Imperial Court. He's going to collaborate from within, to wipe out Qinglong stronghold. I saw the letters between him and his father with my own eyes. There's a chest full of them under his bed. At that, Mother's hand stopped in midair. She stared into my eyes, her gaze incredibly complex. There was doubt, shock, and a trace of barely perceptible wavering. She was silent for a long moment, then her tone grew heavy. Take me to see. That very night, under the moonlight, we quietly went down the mountain, tiptoeing carefully, and sneaked into Gu Hanzhou's thatched cottage. The room was pitch dark, completely empty. Gu Hanzhou was nowhere to be seen. Without a word, Mother went straight to the bed, bent down and pulled out the wooden chest. She abruptly opened the chest. I leaned in to look, and my heart sank instantly. The chest was completely empty. The letters were gone. Hongying, I'm not lying to you. There really are letters. He must have realized and hidden them. I was so anxious I was about to cry. I grabbed Mom's arm, trying to explain. Mom stared at the empty chest. Her face was dark and unreadable. She stayed silent for a long time. The air was so still you could hear the wind outside. In a fit of impulse, I rushed over, grabbed the edges of the chest, and tipped it hard onto the floor. Dust fell in a shower. Only the dull thud of wood remained. Impossible! I clearly saw a whole chest full of letters, all correspondence between him and his father. I grabbed the empty chest and shook it frantically. My knuckles turned white from gripping. Tears were already streaming down uncontrollably. Su Xiaotang, where are the letters? He must have noticed me. He hid them. I lunged back to the bedside. My fingers dug into the cracks of the bedboard. I pried it open with effort. There was only thick dust underneath. I grabbed a stone from the corner and struggled to pry up the floor tiles. Mud caked my fingertips. I even scraped the skin off my fingers. But I didn't feel a single piece of paper. Enough paper. Stop looking. Mom came over. She reached out and grabbed my arm. Not hard, but her grip was strong enough to hold me still. In her eyes, there was none of the usual gentleness. Only disappointment and distance remained. Hongying, believe me, I really saw it. He's an Imperial spy. He's here to trick you and wipe out the fortress. I believe you, he said calmly. But the doubt in his eyes cut like a knife. I knew better than anyone that he didn't believe me at all. Just then, light footsteps came from outside. The door to the hut was pushed open. Gu Hanzhou stood at the doorway. His green robe fluttered slightly in the night breeze. Seeing the mess inside, he and I both froze for a moment. Then a puzzled look appeared on his face. Miss Hongying, why are you here? His gaze swept over me, a hint of coldness flashing by. So fast it was barely noticeable. In an instant, he was back to his gentle demeanor. He asked softly, It's so late. Do you have something urgent to discuss with me? Mom didn't say anything. She just stood there, her eyes fixed on him, heavy and dark. I broke free from Mom's hand. In a few steps, I rushed in front of Gu Hanzhou. Looking up at him, I pointed at his nose. My voice was urgent and hateful, cracking with emotion. Gu Hanzhou, stop pretending. You're not a scholar going to take the exams at all. You're a spy sent by the Imperial Court. You're here to wipe out the Green Dragon stronghold. Gu Hanzhou looked as if he had heard the biggest joke. A bitter smile appeared on his face. His tone was full of grievance. Spy hunting bandits? Little sister, your imagination is way too wild. I saw the letter under your bed with my own eyes. It was written to you by your father. To trick Hong Ying into trusting you. To collaborate from inside and out. I was shaking with anger. My chest heaved violently. I wanted to jump at her, tear off her fake face. Gu Hanzhou calmly walked to the bedside. He bent over and easily lifted the bedboard, pointed to the dust underneath. Spread his hands to Mother. Miss Hong Ying, look. Under my bed there's nothing but dust. Nothing at all. Then he turned to me. His eyes were so sincere they almost looked pitiful. I don't know. Why do you, little sister, dislike me so much? Always targeting me. As he said this, he looked at Mother. His tone grew even softer and more aggrieved. Slowly raised 3 fingers and swore to the night sky, Miss Hong Ying, if I, Gu Hanzhou, have even a hint of false feelings for you, if I truly am a court spy, may I be struck by lightning, not die a good death. The vow was made with firm determination. Coupled with her delicate and gentle appearance, anyone who saw it would soften. Mother's gaze swung back and forth between me and Gu Hanzhou. The struggle in her eyes gradually faded, leaving only exhaustion. She didn't press further. Turned and walked out. Go back, Sister Hong Ying. Don't believe him. He's faking it. I hurriedly chased after. Tried to grab his sleeve, but he dodged. I said, go back. He suddenly turned around. His eyes were as sharp as knives. The anger and disappointment in his tone made me freeze instantly. I clenched my teeth, glared fiercely at Gu Hanzhou. The hatred in that look almost overflowed. Gu Hanzhou's voice came from behind, with deliberate gentleness and persistence. Miss Hong Ying, whether you believe it or not, my feelings for you have always been sincere. Mother's steps paused for a moment. Her fingertips curled slightly, but in the end, she didn't look back, and continued walking forward. The night road back to the mountain was dark and quiet. We walked one behind the other. Neither of us spoke. The wind hit my face, both cold and painful, but it couldn't compare to even 1/10,000th of the pain in my heart. I clutched my injured fingertips tightly. My heart was both angry and anxious, and there was an unspeakable grievance. I was clearly doing it for his own good, but why wouldn't he believe me? When we were almost at the village gate, Mother suddenly stopped, turned around and looked at me. Her tone was terrifyingly calm. Terrifyingly calm. Su Xiaotang, tell me truthfully. I looked up at her. My heart inexplicably panicked. Her gaze locked on me tightly. Asked word by word, do you like Gu Hanzhou? You're only 6 years old. The feelings between a man and a woman, you can't understand them yet. I was completely stunned. Like I'd been struck by lightning, I couldn't react for a long time. Like him? That liar who ruined my mother's life, who caused her miserable death? I almost laughed out of anger, but tears fell first. Is it because you like him that you don't want me to be with him? So you made up these ridiculous lies and target him at every turn? He asked again, his tone carrying a hint of weary certainty, as if he'd already made up his mind. I was shaking with anger. I shook my head hard. My voice choked but resolute. No, I don't. How could I like him? I wish I could kill him! Mom took a step forward, leaning down to look into my eyes, her gaze sharp enough to see through everything. Then why do you target him so much? Why do you seem to already know him and know he'll hurt me? I opened my mouth, but my throat felt blocked, and I couldn't say a word. How could I tell her? I'm your daughter from the future, who saw you being abandoned by him, having your ribs broken by him, and taking your last breath in the bitter cold. So I traveled back in time to save you. If I said that, she'd only think I was even more delusional. Mom looked at my dejected face and suddenly smiled. It was a bitter smile, her eyes full of disappointment, as if her heart had turned cold. Can't say it! Su Xiaotang, I treated you like a little sister. Kept you by my side to protect you. Taught you to be brave. Worried you'd be wronged, and you treat me like a fool. No, I wanted to defend myself, but my voice was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. Tears hit the ground, spreading into tiny wet marks. Enough! She cut me off, her tone final, leaving no room for negotiation. You don't have to come back. My green dragon stronghold has no place for someone as calculating and full of lies as you. With that, she turned and walked into the stronghold gate. Her red-clad back looked especially resolute in the night, without a single glance back at me. The heavy gate closed slowly with a creak, like a chasm separating me from her and cutting off my only hope. My only hope. I crouched outside the gate, hugging my knees and crying softly, but afraid to cry too loud. Even though I was kicked out, I couldn't leave. I had to keep an eye on Gu Hanzhou and never let him harm Mom again. Uncle Tianyu secretly handed me a pouch of loose silver and said in a low voice, "Little Tang girl, the chieftain is in a rage right now. You go hide down the mountain for a few days. Once she cools down, I'll put in a good word for you." I clutched the heavy silver, but my throat tightened painfully. Uncle Tianyu, do you believe me? Gu Hanzhou is really a fraud. He's going to trick Mom and destroy the stronghold. Uncle Tianyu's expression was incredibly complicated. He touched my little face. What I believe doesn't count. Girl, the key is that the chief has to believe you. Take care of yourself first. Stop going head to head. I'm at the foot of the mountain. Rented the cheapest thatched hut. Drafty from all sides. At night, I could hear the sound of rats scurrying around. The number of times Gu Hanzhou came to the stronghold was becoming more and more frequent. I always crouched under the old locust tree at the mountain path entrance, watching him, dressed in a green robe, walk down the mountain shoulder to shoulder with Mother. On Mother's face, there was a gentle smile I hadn't seen in a long time. That smile was like fine needles, pricking my eyes one by one until they hurt. Sometimes I could also see them standing by the cliff, red robes and green mountain, tangled together by the wind. Onlookers from afar all praised them as a perfect match. But I clenched my fists, digging my nails into my flesh, my heart both bitter and hateful. That was the swindler who ruined Mother's life. Sorrow is useless. I told myself over and over, I must find proof before Mother falls even deeper. Before something happens to the stronghold, find the evidence. Gu Hanzhou is too cunning. After I tipped him off last time, he hid the letters even more carefully. I need to find a new breakthrough. 7 days later, the opportunity finally came. The stronghold was going to hold a mid-autumn banquet. They also hired a theater troupe from the town. I found out the departure time of the troupe and waited by the road early. I mixed in while the porters were busy. I smeared 2 handfuls of coal ash on my face, changed into a loose, coarse cloth outfit, and shrank behind the crowd, pretending to be a little helper moving props. Finally, I managed to follow them into the stronghold. At the banquet, the bonfire blazed, lighting up the entire venue red. The aroma of wine and meat drifted far. Mother sat in the seat of honor, in a red dress, bright as fire. She looked softer than usual. Gu Hanzhou was sitting beside her, like a green mountain, tall and upright, was carefully pouring wine for her. His movements were impossibly gentle. Today is mid-autumn, brothers, drink up. Don't leave until you're drunk. Mother raised her wine bowl and downed it in one go. Her eyes and brows were full of bold loyalty, but as I watched Gu Hanzhou, the smugness he couldn't hide in his eyes made my heart clench with anxiety. I hid in the shadow of a tent, staring intently at Gu Hanzhou, not daring to look away for a second. After 3 rounds of drinks, he stood up and cupped his hands to Mother, and said with a smile that he was going to sober up. Then he turned and walked toward the back mountain. I immediately clutched my clothes, using the bonfire as cover. I hunched my back and quietly followed. He walked steadily, without any sign of being drunk. Through a dense bamboo grove, he stopped in front of a secluded cave. That was where the stronghold stored old weapons. Usually, except for the patrolling brothers, almost no one came there. I held my breath and tiptoed to hide behind a bamboo tree. From inside the cave, I heard another man's lowered voice. A letter from the capital. The army to suppress the bandits has arrived. 300 li away in Qingzhou. They'll be here within 10 days. Don't look back, the prince ordered. Make sure before the army arrives. We get the defense map of Qingming Fort. Coordinate from within. Take down the bandit lair. Don't look back. Gu Hanzhou's voice was eerily calm. Completely gone was his usual gentleness. I knew Su Hongying was starting to trust me. I'll have the map within 3 days. That girl Su Xiaotong, she's nothing but a clown. Nothing to worry about. Gu Hanzhou let out a sneer, his tone dripping with contempt. Su Hongying has already kicked him out. Saves us the trouble. Makes it easier for us. I covered my mouth, just barely stopping myself from screaming. My whole body trembled uncontrollably. Just then, Gu Hanzhou suddenly paused. He asked again, about the child in Zhu Hongying's womb. Has the prince given any instructions? Boom! It felt like a thunderclap exploded in my head. My ears were ringing. The lady is pregnant. In my past life, I never heard of this. I guess later Gu Hanzhou abandoned her. When he broke her ribs, the baby didn't survive either. Tears blurred my vision instantly. Furious and grief-stricken, my hands and feet went cold. The prince said, the bandit leader's son cannot be spared. Don't look back. Once it's done, make sure it's clean. To avoid future trouble. Let me ask again. Gu Hanzhou's voice was completely flat, as if discussing some trivial matter. I was shaking with rage and trembling with fear. As I stepped back, I didn't notice a crack underfoot. I'd stepped on a dry twig. Who's there? A sharp shout came from the cave, followed by hurried footsteps. I turned and ran. In my panic, I couldn't tell direction. I just kept charging forward, but the footsteps behind me grew closer. I don't know how long I ran. I slammed into a cold stone wall. It was a cliff. Below was a pitch-black abyss. The night wind blew cold against me. My teeth chattered from the cold. Gu Hanzhou and the man in black had caught up, blocking my escape on both sides. Under the moonlight, all traces of warmth had vanished from Gu Hanzhou's face. Only cold, murderous intent remained. His eyes were as sinister as a viper's. Su Xiaotang, you really are persistent. With my back to the cliff, nowhere left to retreat, I could only force down my fear, lifting my face to glare at him. My voice was trembling, but filled with hatred. Gu Hanzhou, you might fool my mother, fool everyone else, but you can't fool me. You're a fraud. You want to kill my mom and her unborn child. Gu Hanzhou smiled, a cruel and smug smile. So what? What can you do about it? Now you're the one who dies. The man in black drew his sword, a flash of cold light under the moon, and slowly approached me. I looked down the mountain in despair, the bonfire in the stockade still bright, laughter and chatter drifting up faintly, a stark contrast to the deathly silence here. Mom is still at the feast. She doesn't know the danger so close to her, and I can barely protect her. The blade is coming straight at me. I shut my eyes tightly in fear, tears streaming from the corners of my eyes. Just then, a sharp shout pierced the night sky. Stop! I snapped my eyes open and saw a figure in red rushing over like lightning, a whip lashing out, precisely wrapping around the black-clad man's wrist. Yanking hard, the sword clattered to the ground. It was Mom! Behind her followed Uncle Tianyu and a dozen men, each armed, their eyes warily fixed on the cave. Mom's face was deathly pale, lips pressed tight, her hand instinctively shielding her belly, her gaze shifting between me, Gu Hanzhou, and the black-clad man, back and forth, finally locking onto Gu Hanzhou's face. Young Master Gu, you'd better explain all this. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Rushed over and grabbed Mom's clothes. Tears flooding out, sobbing. Hong Ying! He lied. They want the defense map and they want to kill you and your baby. I'm not lying. I really am not lying. Gu Hanzhou's face changed, then quickly regained composure. Trying the same trick again? Mom sneered. Mistake? She pulled a letter from her bosom, the very copy of the letters I had seen in Gu Hanzhou's hut. So Uncle Tianyu had already sent people to investigate, and secretly forged a copy. This is your father's own letter, young Master Gu. Care to explain? What gained the bandit leader's trust, and coordinate from within and without mean? Gu Hanzhou's face went pale instantly, lips trembling, unable to utter a word. The man in black saw the tide turn, drew his sword and swung at Mom, but Uncle Tianyu was ready. Their weapons clashed with a clang, sparks flying. The two locked in combat. Gu Hanzhou tried to escape in the chaos, but Mom's whip was faster, whooshing around his ankle. Yanking hard, he flopped face first into the dirt. Mom stepped forward, putting a foot on his back. Gu Hanzhou, any last word? Gu Hanzhou, any last words? Gu Hanzhou struggled a few times, found he couldn't break free, so stopped pretending. A sinister grin spread across his face. Su Hongying, you think capturing me will do any good? The Imperial Army will be here in 10 days. Green Dragon Stronghold is doomed. Even if you kill me now, you can't change that outcome. Mom was stunned. She loosened her grip a little. Gu Hanzhou seized the chance and leaped up, a dagger sliding out of his sleeve. He thrust it straight at Mom's belly. He meant to kill the baby in her womb. Mom, watch out! I don't know where I got the strength, but my little legs kicked, and I threw myself in front of Mom. The cold blade sank into my shoulder. Xiao Tong! Mom caught me. Her eyes instantly reddened, holding me. Even her voice trembled. Gu Hanzhou tried to stab again, but Mom struck back with her blade, and it flashed past his right hand, severing it clean at the wrist. Blood gushed out. Screams echoed across the cliff. After Gu Hanzhou's scream came wild laughter. Su Hongying, you can't escape. A big surprise is coming. 30,000 Imperial troops are already on their way. Green Dragon Stronghold will be reduced to ashes. Mom held me tight, her voice cold as ice. So those sweet words, those vows were all lies? Gu Hanzhou sneered. What else? You really thought I'd fall for a female bandit? Ridiculous! I'm the son of the Vice Minister of Rights, sent to suppress bandits for merit. You're just a stepping stone on my path to promotion. He pointed at Mom's belly and said, And that bastard in your womb? Too bad I missed. Mom's hands were shaking, not from fear but from rage. Tie him up! The brothers rushed over and soon tied Gu Hanzhou up. Mom tore off a strip of cloth and bandaged my wound. Her movements were so gentle, unlike her. What did you just call me? Why did you take that knife from me? Ignoring the pain, I forced a smile. Because you're my mom! Mom's hand paused. What did you say? I watched tears stream down her face. You're my mom! Later, this jerk will abandon you, break your ribs, and leave you in the snow. Gu Hanzhou was bound hand and foot, a rag stuffed in his mouth, and dragged to the dungeon. Mom gathered all the brothers and announced the truth openly. The crowd was furious. That son of a bitch scholar! Kill him, chief! Let's fight them to the death! Mom raised her hand to silence them. Gu Hanzhou cannot be killed. He's the son of an imperial official. If we kill him, we'll have no way back. Then what do? Wait for the soldiers to come? Mom touched her belly, her gaze turning resolute. I have a plan. The knife wound wasn't deep, but it needed rest. Mom took me back to the stronghold and cared for me herself. She clumsily brewed medicine, filling the kitchen with smoke. Stayed by my bedside at night. If I moved even a little, she would wake up with a start. Mom, I'm fine. On the 5th day, I finally could sit up. Mom brought a bowl of medicine, blew on it, and brought it to my lips. Don't talk. Drink. I obediently finished it. It was so bitter I frowned. She popped an osmanthus candy in my mouth. We both froze for a moment. She threw the candy out the window, then pulled out another pack from her pocket. This is from Tianyu, bought from the town. Clean. I sucked on the candy, the sweetness melting. The next day, Mom gathered the core brothers in the afternoon and announced her plan. Gu Hanzhou said the bandit suppression army would arrive in 10 days. We need to, before that, obtain evidence of his collusion with bandits. Chief, we are the bandits. What evidence do we need? No, we need to prove that Green Dragon Stronghold is not ordinary bandits. He unfurled a map. Over the years, we've kept the ledger of robbing the rich to help the poor. Every entry is clear. Liujia Village, Wangjia Village, Lijiagu, these villages, the villagers who have received our help can all testify. But this is not enough. The court won't be convinced by a few villagers' testimonies to believe us. Mom sneered. So we need Guhanzhou. Isn't he the son of the Vice Minister of Rights? I want him to write a confession in his own hand, admitting his father colluded with local officials, embezzled disaster relief funds, and framed Green Dragon Stronghold as bandits to cover it up, and intended to kill to silence us. Everyone gasped. Tianyu asked nervously, will this work? It has to work. Tianyu, go persuade him, tell him. If he doesn't write it, I'll hand him over to the people at the foot of the mountain, the disaster victims whose families were destroyed by his father. Their methods of skinning and ripping tendons are far more vicious than us bandits. Tianyu grinned grimly. Got it. Guhanzhou is a coward. In less than a day, he was crying and sniffling and wrote the confession. He not only confessed to his father's embezzlement, but also named several accomplices. Mom made several copies of the confession and sent brothers on horseback to the capital. Not to the court, but to the upright censors in the capital and the political enemies who have grudges against the Gu family. At the same time, she contacted several nearby righteous army leaders who were also falsely labeled as bandits and formed an alliance. The Imperial troops are coming. We can't defeat them, but we can make them dare not fight. I don't dare to fight. Mom pointed towards the capital. When the memorial requesting bandit suppression is presented to the Emperor, the impeachment of Vice Minister Liu for forming cliques and deceiving the Emperor will also be delivered at the same time. Then who will dare to touch us? Everyone suddenly understood. I, standing by, watched Mom strategizing with ease, feeling both proud and bittersweet. This was the woman she was meant to be. Not the timid woman at the tofu stall, but the one in red riding a fiery horse, a heroine roaming the mountains and fields. The plan went smoothly. On the 7th day, news came from the capital. Deputy Minister Gu was impeached by the censors jointly. The Emperor ordered a full investigation. On the 8th day, the army suppressing the bandits camped 50 li away. They held their position. On the 9th day, Mother went down the mountain herself to negotiate with the commander. I insisted on going with her. Too dangerous. Where do you think you're going? Where am I? I held his hand. In this life, I will never let you face it alone. She looked at me for a long time. Finally, she nodded. Okay. The military camp's flags fluttered in the wind. Mother was dressed in red. She carried no weapons. Only brought me and a copy of the confession. The commander's surname was Zhao. He was a dark-faced middle-aged general. After reading the confession, he knitted his brows. Chief Su, with just this, is not enough to prove Qinglong Stronghold's innocence. What about adding this? Mother handed over another thick booklet. General Zhao opened it. Inside were the income and expense records of Qinglong Stronghold over the past 10 years. When they robbed which corrupt official, how much silver they got, how much was distributed among the brothers, how much was given to the people, all written clearly. The last page had hundreds of thumbprints from villagers of over a dozen nearby villages. Qinglong Stronghold is not bandits. It is a righteous army. We rob the ill-gotten gains and save the disaster-stricken people. If the general doesn't believe, feel free to ask any villager. General Zhao closed the booklet. He sighed deeply. I believe you, but military orders are like mountains. The order to suppress bandits has been issued. If I return empty-handed, I cannot justify it. General, don't trouble yourself. Qinglong Stronghold can be disbanded. I abruptly looked at him. He shook his head at me. He continued. Brothers who wish to go home will be given relocation fees. Those without homes can be enlisted under your command to earn merit and redeem themselves. He stood up and made a solemn bow. Please report to His Majesty and restore justice to Qinglong Stronghold, punish the corrupt officials severely, and provide relief to the afflicted people. General Zhao was moved. Chief Su, you are righteous. I admire you. But what about yourself? Mother touched her belly. I'm tired. I want to find a place to give birth to this child safely. The negotiation went smoothly. General Zhao agreed to report to the Emperor and promised not to pursue the people of Qinglong Stronghold. In exchange, Mother had to hand over Guhanzhou and provide more evidence of corrupt officials. As we left the camp, the sun was setting. Mother held my hand. We walked very slowly. Mother, are you really going to disband Qinglong Stronghold? She looked at the distant mountains. I've been a bandit for over 10 years. Enough. Now I just want to be an ordinary mother and live a good life with you. I choked up. Then where will we go? Jiangnan, I heard it's warm there. Good for raising kids. We smiled at each other. But as soon as we got back to the stronghold, something unexpected happened. Guhanzhou escaped. In the dungeon, all that was left was a cut rope and a note. You ruined my future. I'll make your mother and child pay with their lives. Tianyu's face turned livid. He was the guard on duty. He had been bribed. Just discovered. Before the words faded, A horn sounded from the foot of the mountain. The soldiers had returned, surrounding the stronghold. General Zhao rode forward, his face grim. Chief Su, I'm sorry. Gu Hanzhou escaped to the army and turned the tables on us. He said you kidnapped an official's son, fabricated evidence, and planned a rebellion. Now I can't protect you anymore. Mom looked at the dark mass of troops below. She laughed. Just as expected, a cornered beast will bite. He turned to the brothers and said, as planned, those who want to leave, take the secret path from the back mountain. Tianyu, take Xiaotong and go. I hugged him. I'm not going. If we die together. Silly child. She patted my head. You have things you need to do. What? He leaned in close to my ear and whispered a few words. Then he pushed me away. Tianyu, take him away. That's an order. Uncle Tianyu dragged me toward the back mountain. When I looked back, I saw Mom in red like fire. Walking alone toward the gate, she walked straight, like a spear that would never break. The exit of the secret path was in a valley 10 li away. As soon as I came out of the secret path, I ran back like crazy. Uncle Tianyu grabbed me. Xiaotong, you can't go back. The chieftain is holding off the soldiers herself. To let us survive. I screamed, let me go! I have to save my mom! Uncle Tianyu's eyes turned red. You can't save her. 3,000 soldiers going back is suicide. Then I'd rather die with her. I broke free, grabbed a horse, and charged toward the stronghold. From afar, I saw flames towering into the sky. The green dragon stronghold was burning. In front of the gate, Mom was surrounded by soldiers. She was wounded, but she stood straight. In her hand was the long blade that had followed her for over 10 years. Gu Hanzhou stood beside General Zhao, smiling smugly. Su Hongying, surrender. For old time's sake, I'll let you die with dignity. Mom spat a mouthful of blood. You're not worthy of mentioning old times. Gu Hanzhou's face darkened. Seeking death, loose arrows. A rain of arrows flew wildly. Mom swung her blade to block, but there were too many arrows. An arrow hit her leg. She fell to one knee. I screamed and rushed over. Mom! I broke through the soldiers, opening a gap. I threw myself beside Mom, using my body to shield her. Xiaotong, she looked at me. Tears mixed with blood. How could you be so foolish? Gu Hanzhou saw me. His eyes grew fiercer. Kill them both. A second wave of arrows rained down. This time, the arrows were more numerous and dense. I turned to shield Mom completely beneath me. Sharp pain shot through my back. 1, 2, 3 arrows pierced my body. Xiaotong! Mom's scream was heart-wrenching. I coughed up blood, but I smiled at her, Mom. This time I'll protect you. The sound of hooves came from afar, shaking the earth. The imperial decree arrived. The Jin Yue came galloping, holding aloft a golden token. His Majesty has decreed. Gu Hanzhou and his son embezzled relief silver. Framed righteous citizens. Evidence is conclusive. Escort them back to the capital immediately. Qinglong Jianyang pleaded for the people. Her situation is pitiable. Pardon, but it's too late. I fell to the ground. Blood soaked my clothes. Mom held me. Her hands trembled violently. Xiaotong, don't sleep. Look at me. I raised my hand to wipe her tears, but I had no strength. The child is saved. Saved, all saved. You're going to be an older sister. Don't you want to see your little brother or sister? I wanted to smile, but more blood welled up. Gu Hanzhou was pinned to the ground by the Jin Yue. He laughed wildly. Dead! Dead is fine. Su Hongying, I want you to live in pain for the rest of your life. Mom jerked her head up. Murderous intent blazed in her eyes. She gently set me down. Picked up the long blade from the ground. Step by step, she walked toward Gu Hanzhou. The Jin Yue wanted to stop her, but the leader shook his head and let her go. Mom stood before Gu Hanzhou. The tip of the blade pressed against his throat. Gu Hanzhou, have you heard of death by 1,000 cuts? Gu Hanzhou's smile froze. 3,600 cuts. I will personally cut you piece by piece. She raised the blade. Mom, her hand paused. She turned to look at me. Don't dirty your hands. Mom's blade fell to the ground. She ran back to me and picked me up. Okay, Mom listens to you. I'll listen to everything you say. I leaned in her arms. It felt so warm. Mom, sing a song. That mountain song. Mom choked up and hummed that rustic tune. The melody was bold and free, just like she was meant to be. My vision began to blur. Mom, live well. Live freely. Don't sell tofu. Ride horses, drink wine. Laugh. Her hand gripped mine tightly. Mom promises. Mom promises everything. Her voice grew softer. One last look. I saw her. Her face gilded by the setting sun. So beautiful, like that yellowed portrait. The female bandit chief on horseback, blade raised. Qinglong village, Mom is here. Who dares to block the way? Mom, in this life, you are finally free.